I'm Ashton Addison from EventChain for Investmentpitch Media and FinTech News Network. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Alfredo Terrero, the COO and co-founder of IntoTheBlock. Alfredo, thanks so much for being on the show. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. If you could please kick off the interview by giving a bit of background into how you got into the cryptocurrency space, analytics, and how IntoTheBlock was formed.
Sure. So I started in crypto around late 2016. I got into crypto actually through Ethereum and not Bitcoin, like many
Mhm.
people. So I was actually looking into smart contract technology for a different matter, and I started reading about Ethereum. Got very interested. Put some personal money into it when the price was very, very low. That turned out to be a great investment. I must admit, I sold that very early just because I had never had that kind of performance in such a short time. So I kind of missed a lot of the upside there. But eventually I ended up joining forces with some partners and we launched a small crypto fund. About a year and a half ago, I met my co-founder and currently the CEO and CTO of IntoTheBlock, Jesus Rodriguez, and he came with the idea. Well, first of all, he came with a very interesting and mixed backgrounds in both technology and finance. So he was a distinguished engineer at Microsoft, and then built quant systems for hedge funds when the quant industry was taking off in Wall Street. And Jesus, he said he's been investing in blockchain technologies for a while. His background is mainly in AI, but he had this idea, this thesis that became the founding thesis of IntoTheBlock, which is if this asset class is really going to grow and become meaningful, it needs better intelligence than what's out there,
Mhm.
because that's what's happened with other asset classes in history, right? Additionally, it's the first time in history that we have an asset class, a financial asset class, that is natively and 100% digital. So that opens up the opportunity for a new form of analysis that wasn't available before in other asset classes. So with
Mhm.
that in mind, we started IntoTheBlock to provide this sort of new analytics to the market, and here we are.
That's great. Well, thank you for the intro, Alfredo. And now, IntoTheBlock as a product, you use machine learning and statistical analysis to deliver insights into cryptocurrency. Now, have you guys built something unique and specific, some secret intel that gives you a competitive advantage over other data analytics companies in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so machine learning is a very nascent field within crypto. So some of the applications that we're using are already in the product. Some are in the roadmap or not part of the product yet, and we're using to do, let's say, some research efforts with companies like CoinDesk, with whom we have collaborated in the past. So one of these examples is we have a very popular indicator called the in and out of the money, which essentially tells you for any asset, any address holding, let's say Bitcoin, for in the case of Bitcoin, uh, whether they would, gain if they sold today, or they would lose. So that's, borrowing from options lingo. We call it the in and out of the money. That one uses machine learning models to come up with cluster of addresses next to price. Um, uh, Ones that haven't been productized yet, we have a very, very large effort on de-anonymization of the blockchain. And what that means, to give you a concrete example of what we have done, spend like 4 to 5 months building this machine learning classifier to
Mm-hmm.
identify exchanges on the blockchain. That's the effort I was mentioning, that where we collaborated with CoinDesk in a research report for liquidity within exchanges,
Mm-hmm.
using the data we were seeing, and also that will eventually become part of the product, where we can, take what we have today and sort of identify which players are exchanges and which players are not.
That's great. And when did you first start? Did you use these any algorithms when you had your crypto fund before Into the Block? And how long has Into the Block been running
N-
now?
No, so the crypto fund, some of the original partners of the crypto fund, we became part of Into the Block, but the fund, we had closed the fund actually before starting Into the Block, and it was a discretionary fund, so we didn't use this sort of algorithms. We unfortunately have not met Jesus, our CEO, yet. So we started building the company in around November 2018, so a little over a year now. We put together a team of, we're about 15 now, mainly data scientists and engineers, and we're running pretty large infrastructure for just having a year on. So we're hosting around 3 terabytes of data and growing at 20 gigabytes per day. So
Mm-hmm.
we have
Oh,
put together this whole infrastructure, and now we launched V1 very recently.
That's great. And you have different types of indicators. I think you have at least four different types of indicators for different kinds of analytics. Can you talk about the different kinds that you have in the system?
Sure. So the way we have divided our indicators, we have over 50 indicators today, and we have divided those in categories, which this might change in the future. But if you go into the block today, we have five categories. The first three are mainly based on on-chain data, but it's not only just on-chain data. We inject other data sources like price to come up to run these machine learning models on top of that and come up with our indicators. So the five categories today are what we call financial, which is that mix. The in and out of the money example is one of those of using blockchain data and price data to come up with indicators. We have one section entirely just for network indicators like hash rate. We just launched UTXO indicators as well, and others. We have another one called ownership, in which we basically segment the quote unquote capital stack of a token. So we say with everyone who holds that token, and we segment that in two ways. One, by concentration, so we see who are the largest holders and whether the token is distributed or centralized or whatnot. And the other one is by time held. So is it a bunch of passive investors holding this asset, or is it more trading frequently? And lastly, we have more off-chain indicators like exchange data. We just recently, a couple of weeks ago, we launched that category is called order book data. So basically taking order books from exchanges and coming up with analytics that we believe are pretty unique to IntoTheBlock. And lastly, social, which is completely obviously off-chain data, but some of our users were asking for it, so we tried to do something original there.
Yeah, that's great. And it's very interesting that users were requesting the social and the off-chain analytics. And I'm curious, how much importance do you believe social and the order books and off-chain data is there a lot of weight on that into how it may affect the future prices of the assets, or not as much as on-chain?
Look, at IntoTheBlock, we believe that an investor should look at everything, right? They should have different data points and make their own decisions, come up with their own strategies. But the more data there's available, the better. Now, when we originally launched, we sort of did not look at social too much. Two reasons. One, there were some people doing interesting things there. And two, we believe, honestly, I have to admit, we believed at the time that it was, maybe overhyped a little bit. Then we started listening to our customers, which is not only individual investors but also partners that are large institutions, and they said, "Look, give us something on social." So we came up with, again, what I believe are some interesting indicators there, using machine learning as well to come up with like the key topics on the news of the day, and other things related to sentiment analysis. For the exchange data, what we do is we're sort of combining some on-chain data as well when we show you the order book. So, for example, we have one that is market depth, which is just a typical, this is the price, and these are different prices. What are the bids and the ask on the other side? But we also tell you, so at those price ranges, this is what's being, let's say, offered in exchanges. But also we know that on the blockchain there were this amount of addresses that bought at that price, so they may come and sell just to break even. So sort of like combining those two pieces of those two data sources basically to come up with something original.
Yeah, that's great. And is this all surrounding Bitcoin, or do you go into the depths of all of the lower market cap cryptocurrencies as well?
Currently, we're supporting about 700 assets. We cover, I think last time I checked was 13 blockchains and the tokens that run on top of them. So obviously having the Ethereum blockchain, we provide data for ETH, but also for tokens that run on top of Ethereum.
Wow. And how are you guys getting this information to the people that need it the most? Is it just direct to consumers, or have you made a lot of big partnerships to distribute it widely?
Yeah, so that's a two-part question. So in terms of delivery, the delivery is basically our website, which we've put a lot of effort in the UI and the user experience, because we want this data to be digestible, let's say, understandable by the average investor, and we don't want just the super educated trader, sophisticated, I may say. So in our website we have all these indicators in a way that they're easy to understand. Now, how we get those users to come to our site, we decided to partner with the top brands in crypto, where those users are today, and that's
Mm-hmm.
essentially three buckets, right? Exchanges, data providers, and news sites. So we have around 20 partners. Before December, we had an open beta, but we just closed that, and so we have a premium product. And through our partners, you get access to our free indicators. So recently, we've been rolling them out, essentially one per week since the start of the year. So now you can find our data in Bitcoinist, CryptoSlate, News BTC. So mainly those are new sites. CoinGecko is already live as well. And in February, we're going to be launching in exchanges such as eToroX, Bitstamp, and other data providers. The top data providers, we have relations with all of them. So we're going to be launching in CoinMarketCap, CryptoCompare,
Mm-hmm.
and well, CoinGecko is already there.
Wow. Well, that sounds like great partnerships to have. And
Yeah, we're very proud, and our
yeah,
partners have been great, and we're really looking forward to rolling all of them out.
that's amazing. And are you using this intel for any internal funds, or you're just using it? Obviously, if you have the secret information and the secret sauce, why not use it for yourselves as well?
Sure, we're getting that question a lot lately, especially because we announced that probably for the end of this quarter, we're going to have a chapter on predictions for price. It's essentially a directional prediction, not necessarily telling you exactly where the price is going
Mm-hmm.
to be within an hour. Uh, but the quick answer is no. We don't have our own fund, mainly because first we decided to focus on being hopefully the best company in the data analytics space for crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And building a fund requires a whole different kind of
Yeah.
one, focus, and two, infrastructure, right? You need not only to raise the
Yeah.
capital for that, but also you know build strategies, have risk management, portfolio management, back
Mm-hmm.
testing. So it's a whole different kind of infrastructure and know-how that you have to have.
Definitely. I completely agree. And it's great to stay focused. And it sounds like your team has quite the platform already. And I'm guessing that you guys have quite a few amount of users. Are you looking at expanding more, like in terms of the product? You're constantly building in more indicators, or what do users have to look forward to?
Sure. We are constantly launching new indicators and new categories like the ones I was mentioning. So every week, last week we launched that UTXO data that I was mentioning before. This week, we're going to be launching, so that in and out of the money indicator has become so popular that we're doing like we're launching related indicators to that. And later this quarter, we're going to be launching a new chapter on futures. We believe that's going to be a large part of the crypto
Yeah,
industry in 2020, and hopefully that chapter in predictions as well later on.
that's great. And what would you say is some of the biggest challenges that you may foresee as you continue to grow into the block?
Yeah, there are a few. I think we are very focused, again, that example that I was giving earlier on the anonymization of the blockchain. It's been quite an undertaking. We spent, again, like I said, like 4 months with a couple of our machine learning guys completely focused on that, and we want to take it to the next level, and not only identifying exchanges but coming up with models that identify, okay, this is a hedge fund or an OTC
Mm-hmm.
desk, and that's quite difficult to do. But again, we're here to tackle on those difficult tasks. So hopefully we'll get it done.
Awesome. Well, all the best in that. And if there are
Thank you.
traders or investors that are looking to learn more information, get into the subscription so they can get your indicators, what's the best way for them to learn more information?
The best way, yeah, obviously go to our website, which is IntoTheBlock.com. You can subscribe there for a 7-day free trial and get access to all our indicators and try the platform. There's also on the site a section called resources, where we have a couple of videos for each one of the indicators in the platform, where you can see, how we build them and how you can use them as a trader. And lastly, I would really recommend going to our Medium publication. Our team is publishing around 2 to 3 articles a week based on data that we are seeing that is available in the platform, or that we have, other efforts internally, and we publish them there. So it's a really great source, and that's medium.com/IntoTheBlock.
Great. Thank you so much, Alfredo. I'll leave those links in the description box below. That's all the time that
Thank
we
you.
have for the interview today, but I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show, and let's follow up in the near future.
Thank you for having me, Ashton, and all the best to you as well.